systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition of the Sunday Main Show here on the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station. Got Hoop, got Title here with me as always. Going to break down Patrick Mahomes week. I mean, wait, never Mahomes, but we'll get there, but maybe. But Hoopster, I'll bring you in first, man. It's another week to get back at it. 10 games. Going to break it all down as usual. Go game by game, first look overview, all that and more. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Yeah, not much. Obviously, always excited to hop on, talk some main slate football with you guys, kind of go through the slate game by game, see what we can find in terms of this slate. Interesting, I'd say, like a lot of good plays at running back. I feel like that's been the case for a while. Not a ton of value. It seems like that's kind of been the case as well. Wide receivers, very difficult today. I think, what you do at wide receiver probably dictates the slate in terms of stacking and that sort of thing, because not many like just standout guys that you absolutely want to play. A lot of tight ends, I think, that we can look at, high end, cheap, and then quarterback. Again, it always gets spread out, and we'll talk through it. But difficult with stacking. Like Anthony Richardson showing up as a good value basically everywhere. But how do you play Anthony Richardson today? And we'll talk through that. I think it's a very interesting talking point. You got like the Geno stuff. A lot of people will be on Geno. They pass a ton, clear targets in terms of who you pair him with. So, dynamic slate, and we'll break it all down here for the next hour and a half.
Yeah, I'll bring Title. I'll bring you in here in a second. I want to give a shout out. He was first in too. We always give first in shout out, but this is the thing. First in and first up top this week in the NBA streets. Sean Sullivan Jr. says free money Sunday. Shouting out Title. Momentum is growing at SHIPIT Nation, especially in the NBA streets. Another big night last week. The late night crew was up with all kinds of shippers and showdown. We had the top 3 spots. I got a ticket to something. Our guy Scarface, who's in the chat, had a big night, but Sean won $50K the other night. And Hoop, while I bring in Title, you can think about an idea here, but he's giving away, very grateful for this. He's giving away 2 $85 a month all access Wish Shiptimizer membership. So shout out to Sean. Appreciate you, man. And congrats again on the huge week and just embracing the grind, getting behind it and having a big one for yourself. Title, what's going on, my man? How you doing? Free money Sunday, just like Sean said.
Oh, yeah. Free money Sunday. Always doing good Sunday mornings. Ready for some football. My initial thoughts were pretty much everything Hoop covered. I think it's a very similar slate to what we saw last week. Pretty concentrated at running back. Receivers, a couple guys, the mid 5K range, but value is really tough again. And I think stacking quarterbacks is pretty tricky for a lot of people. There's not just one or two that stands out to the rest. So I think ownership's relatively spread out outside of a couple running backs and a couple receivers there as well. But yeah, I'm excited for the slate. And then FanDuel, always the Sunday night game, helped you last week. And it's another very good one that you cannot ignore as well for the Rams and the Eagles.
Yeah, I had to go back and update the slate plan over at SHIPIT Nation on the site just because that is a good one this week again. And it's big ceiling, right? Especially people going to be like, I like Geno. I like Jaden Daniels, but how can you not like something like A.J. Brown with no Devontae Smith? You got Dallas Goedert there who usually picks it up when Devontae's out or anything like that, or anybody's out for that matter. And then you got Jalen Hurts, who probably has the biggest ceiling on the slate, just the way it goes. You got Barkley, Kyron Williams, all those Rams receivers where it's pretty condensed. So that is a good game over on FanDuel. Good call on that one. Hoop, what do you think of for this contest? Do you have anything with that yet? If not, you can keep thinking about it and just give your first thoughts if you have anything on the Chiefs and Panthers. That's going to be the first game.
Yeah, so the only thing I kind of think, I mean, we're what, 12? This is week 12, so we got a lot of shows under our belt over here at SHIPIT Nation. This show, other shows, but let's take a trip down memory lane. It's got to be related to this season, this NFL season. None of the jokes from last year are applicable. You can't do the wheelchair thing anymore. That was last season, not this season. So favorite memory so far. We'll say this show. I mean, if it overlaps into other shows, that's fine. But favorite memories from this show this season.
And Kenny knows the joke. Yeah, Hoop does crush on FanDuel. By the way, FanDuel's been my bread and butter these last 2 seasons for whatever reason. I said last week, like Title mentioned, I said I'll finally, I really like the slate I'll play over there, and almost had a huge week, but had a big week overall. I like the contest idea, so we'll get everybody rolling on that. There was one more comment I saw, but I guess I'll kick it to you, Hoop. Just the first game, Chiefs at Panthers. And I was teasing it off the top in the intro, and I said it pre-show to you guys. I never play Mahomes. Never Mahomes. If there was ever a time, though, this is the tricky, because there's only 10 games on the slate. It's by far the bet, really just a great matchup all around. They have a 26-point team total, and Kareem Hunt, for good reason, if you guys see the stone, is probably, I think, one of the most optimal we've seen all season with this matchup, this spread, Pacheco not being able to make it back yet this week. So what's your thoughts on this game? And I gave you shit for Mahomes last week because I give everybody that way, but this week, are you going to get back in on it? And maybe this is the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get back in on it. I guess when I think about the Chiefs team, so one spot where it definitely can come on and take the L, totally fine with taking the L's where they're applicable, is the Lions. I've been saying that the Lions are fine winning these ugly, grinded out type games, and that definitely wasn't the case last week. 52. Started thinking about it a little bit more with the Lions. Is it Ben Johnson? Obviously he's going to be the top head coach pick basically after this season. Is it him getting himself even more potentially on the radar and wanting to put up these points? I don't know. But with the Chiefs, I feel very good in that assessment that they are okay winning the ugly type of games, winning 27-7. They've already proven themselves. They've won Super Bowls. They have nothing else to really prove at this point. And that's obviously why Kareem Hunt is showing up as such a solid play. The price is cheap. No Pacheco. There was some talk that Pacheco might be in, but Hunt's going to be the most popular guy on the slate, I think, is a pretty fair assessment, and rightfully so. I get the leverage stuff. You can go, Mahomes to Hopkins, Mahomes to Kelsey. I've endorsed it a few times this year, just not going to be endorsing it today. I will have some Hopkins. I will have some Kelsey. Obviously, I think Kelsey's a really good play, but Kareem Hunt is obviously the main focal point here for the Chiefs. I do want some of the Chiefs defense as well. They're expensive. A lot of people are looking to save at defense, and there are cheap defenses. Chiefs D is the most expensive, I believe, at $3,900. So Hunt with Chiefs defense, I think, is interesting. Yes, Hunt's going to get a lot of ownership, but Chiefs defense won't because they're super expensive. So good with that. On the Panthers side, I know Adam Thielen's coming back. There's just I don't know. This Jonathan Brooks guy's playing. Hubbard's still expected to get decent ownership. It's looking like we're showing. So we're showing 4. I'm guessing it's higher than that, to be honest with you. But I'm not going to be on any Panther stuff. So for me, it's simple. Chiefs defense, Hunt, Kelsey, Hopkins, and that's about it.
Yeah, I do like especially the leverage play in Kelsey, even both sites. I mean, on FanDuel, you can get down to the Schoonmakers of the world, and we'll talk about all that. And on DraftKings, of course, you can too. But just noting it is he could have, especially on DraftKings 5,800, he can have a 9 for 109 in one game, and that doesn't mean anything. For Mahomes, it would probably hurt Hunt, depending. Hunt could still have a good game. Both of them could get there, and you fill out 2 slots with it and still not need Mahomes. But I do think that's interesting. Title, how are you handling this spot for the Chiefs? And I laughed when Hoop said Panthers because I was just waiting for him to say absolutely nothing, because there's just nothing going on that side. It's tough to make a choice. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, Panthers, one of the easier fades on the slate. The Chiefs, all you got to do is click Mahomes game log, and I'm not going back to that. I mean, the dude never wins a slate. I'm on board with you. And, yeah, I mean, 10.5 point favorites, they're up 14. They're totally fine running the ball. Then you play Mahomes. Is it Hopkins? Is it Worthy? Is it Kelsey? Next thing you know, it might be Watson, Juju, Noah Gray. I just like Kareem Hunt and Kelsey, and I'm not messing with D-Hop. It's been disappointing after his big showdown game. Worthy can always get there. When you compare his projection to others in his range, great leverage on both, I guess, D-Hop and Worthy. Jacoby Myers, Sutton, 2 popular plays right in that range. Problem is Worthy's floor is, I guess legit 0, 1, 2, really, really low, which can absolutely burn you on a main slate. Yeah, he has the upside, but they just have so many weapons on that and 10.5 point favorite. So I think just Hunt and Kelsey for me. And Kelsey's going to get a decent amount of ownership. The price is great. When we get to the Brock Bowers of the world, Trey McBride, I do think those are interesting pivots. To be honest, I think I like a little more at lower ownership too. But yeah, Kelsey, Hunt, that's it.
Yeah, I like that call actually too, because later on when you get to it, especially if Abdullah picks up steam or something, now that's the same thing, but on a cheaper play and then a pivot, a double pivot off of Hunt, off of Abdullah over to, and you can play Hunt with Bowers or something like that as a way to get different if people are playing Hunt and Abdullah. My guy Rob says if it seems like a Mahomes day, it's not a Mahomes day. It's probably true, but like I said, if there was one spot to see it happen, it would be more for the leverage than him actually coming through. It's just, they are probably going to put up those points. It's a really easy matchup for them. But the note is don't whine if Kareem Hunt gets there. Like, don't be surprised. He's literally the most optimal we've seen, I think, all season on the stone. Maybe there's been, maybe it was like Bucky Irving or Rashad White, whichever guy it was that 1 week, and we'll get to them shortly too. But just that when you see it, that's something. And then somebody said we don't show the stone for the last game, the last couple of shows. It's all based on the likes, right? We said that last week, and it's the same this week. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button on the way in. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Almost at 8,900 YouTube subscribers now. The drive for 10K by the end of the season is real. I think we could even get there by the end of the regular season. So keep hitting the like, keep subscribing to the channel and spreading the word. We appreciate you. We'll bring the stone back up when we get to 400 likes. Real quick, just talking about Sean Sullivan giving these away, and Hoop's going to start looking through some of these comments. They're already hitting you on the MVS situation, the shoey they're calling out, but monthly all access, $85. So there's a couple deals going on right now. This is the best to lock in because that's your price. You lock it in. It's everything that we offer, all the sports with Shiptimizer, everything, and it's just locked in at $85 a month. If you go to Join the Nation and you're just here for football, 2 huge deals, right? You get the rest of the season, week 12, through the Super Bowl. So it's almost 3 full months, but just under now because we're on November 24th. But $99, a lot less than paying $150, plus when you go the monthly route. And if you do want Shiptimizer for NFL Classic and Showdown, you just got to step up $30 to the $129. So I think that's the big ones. And then we did leave NBA 50 on. So if you're saying either of those, I'm still not 100% sure. I just want to try things out. You can use NBA 50 and pay $34.50 for your first month, no optimizer, or $49.50 with optimizer. So check it out. Get over to SHIPIT Nation. Make sure you guys are getting in on the action there. I'll bring it back to the regular. We got the chat up. Let's go to game number 2 title, and I'm going to stay with you because it's your boy, Jay Jefferson, and another guy like my Mahomes previous take there. Is this guy going to show up this week when absolutely nobody really wants him? Like, I see some ownership, but I don't even know if that's going to get there with all the other options and ways that people are going.
Yeah, first of all, I want to mention this because it's a fair point by Eric. Like, who's going to separate at QB? A, if I knew, I'd be a millionaire more than likely. But B, it's like there's 20 quarterbacks on the slate. I expect someone is going to get 25 plus or something like that. And we haven't seen Mahomes do that in what feels like years. So that's the thing there. Who is it going to be? I wish I knew. But this game, I'm banking on it's going to be neither of these quarterbacks. I'm definitely not playing Caleb Williams. It has been tough scenes for him. And then you play him, it's like, what pass catcher is coming along? Is it Keenan? Is it a Dunze? I'm not worrying about that side. Vikings is interesting. I don't know, man. My initial thought was Jefferson. It's been so tough. The main thing is, like we talked about last week, I finally jumped off. It actually worked. Still owes me a lot of money this year. The running back position is just so strong in that 8K range with a chain, with McCaffrey. Mainly those two, I guess. A lot of those 6K running backs are pretty strong too. But even if you want David Montgomery's of the world, Gibbs of the world, I think there's a lot of strong plays up there. And receivers tough in the fact you have to play 3. And a lot of those guys, like that is where the value's coming from, the 5Ks. You can go double tight end. But the long story short, building Jefferson teams is uncomfortable. He's going to be low owned, plus 110 to score, 80 receiving yard prop. I mean, what? He needs to score at least one. Probably needs 120 on the through the air if he's only getting 1 touchdown. I'm indifferent to it. I really don't love much of this game. It's just Jefferson. He does leverage a little Bears defense that's going to get some ownership. And I will say, I'm going back to TJ Hawkinson. Actually was gross last time. So then if I'm going Hawk, I'm fine one-offing Jeff or Hawk. But if I'm going both, I might as well throw a 1 or 2% Darnold in. So I don't know. I'm going to let you guys lean me one way or the other, kind of like Tua last week. I'm on the fence on this side. No Bears for me.
Yeah, I found the one lineup where it was like Darnold, Jefferson, Hawk, or whatever, and I was like, okay, into the one of the Qs on DK, but that's like it. I'm not going to hold them up and put them out there. Just was, this was sneaky for me, looking at it on the stone. Again, you guys don't have it up there now, but just to give it away, it was a sneaky game. I saw that. And then, I don't know, Hoop, I want to get your take because these guys like Moore, Odunze, they're popping up a little bit in all projections, ours included, but again, transferring from both sites and looking on FanDuel especially, it seems like everybody's putting at least one of them in. I'm not interested in Caleb Williams. I like the Vikings D. I like the Hawk call more. If you're picking one-offs here, I know people like Bears D. I'm fine with that on DraftKings, especially at just $2,500. But Did you see anything that you like with this DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, any of those guys on the Bears side?
Not a ton. Like I ran my teams, started building yesterday, and like some of these guys are sneaking in my 150, like at small percentages, like Odunze, Keenan Allen a little bit, and I'm fine with that. But there's no way I'm going to go like overweight because they are getting a little bit of ownership. So I'm fine if they get into my teams. I'm not actively seeking to get exposure to any Bears. Actually, my favorite play on the Bears is the defense. 2,500 punt price tag can kind of make a lot of things work. So I guess Bears defense would be my favorite. Not opposed to some of these Bears guys getting in if needed because they are cheap, but I'm not actively trying to put Bears into my lineups today. So out on that side. On the Viking side, the Jefferson thing has been pretty frustrating. I don't know. To me, it's pretty clear. If you've been playing them, I think you stick with them and play them. Like I've been playing them a little bit. Again, in my 150, if I was hand building, he's getting nowhere close to my lineups. If I'm doing making 10 teams and I'm building them, one by one, each one hand build, I'm not playing them. But in 150, if I can just put 5 or 6% in without sacrificing much else in my lineups, I'm fine with that. I've been doing it. I'm just going to stick with it. It hasn't really hurt me, I'd say, because I haven't taken a massive overweight approach. But just to get a little bit of him, I think is fine. Favorite play for sure is Hawkinson, 4,200. I think it's a really good price tag. He's not going to be overlooked, but there's 3 clear spends at tight end: Kelsey, Bowers, McBride, a bunch of cheap options. Hawkinson's kind of somewhere in the middle, and he has 10, 11 target upside, and a lot of times he converts those as well. So clearly, definitely my favorite play. The running backs, not much interest. Akers is starting to get more work. Aaron Jones, the 64 price tag, looks nice, but won't be going there. No Darnold. So just to summarize, Jefferson, I'm going to continue playing. It is tough on FanDuel, I will say. Those everyone's priced way up. It is hard to get Jefferson over there, so maybe not on FanDuel, but good with him on DK. Hawkinson, I like, probably my favorite play in this game. The Bears wide receivers, if they get into my teams, cool. It'll be an underweight approach. I'm fine with that. And then Bears defense.
Yeah, and even, again, obviously if Jefferson smashes the slate, it's nice to have him with Darnold for sure, but there is an opportunity or a possibility you could still get away with it, and I never have a problem. We've seen Jefferson rack up 7 for 114 or something in the first half. He's racked up 100 yards in the first quarter. This guy can just get there on that alone. If you land there, I'm good with it, but I think Hoop nailed it. If you're hand building, very tough. How do you even get to that click in some cases? Shout out to Ross here. Just want to answer this quick because it was a good call out. DeAndre Swift and Keenan Allen noted overnight that they're going to be good to roll in this game. And I like how Hoop also said the part about just sometimes the optimizer will just give you some of these one-offs or something, or if you get a secondary stack that's like Hawkinson and Keenan Allen or Rome Odunze, it's not like you begged for it, but if you got it and everything else sort of makes sense, I'm more than comfortable landing on something like that and just seeing if you get a piece of this game that's what goes off. It's not that you need Darnold, Jefferson, or Caleb Williams. It might just be those pieces in this spot. Title, anything else you want to add with that one, man? If not, you could take us to the Titans and the Texans, the double T game.
Yeah, no, if I had 150, the FanDuel always a $3. If Odunze or Keenan, I get one-offs there, I'm fine. I just, in general, most people I assume watch and play 10 or less, I wouldn't get to Chicago stuff there. This next game is definitely an appealing one. Getting some ownership in DFS, Texans and Titans in a dome. Texans 8-point favorites. I'll start Titans side because it's really easy. Tony Pollard and Calvin Ridley, it's pretty much their whole offense. Both are getting a decent bit of ownership, I guess, on both sides. And they're implied for 18 points, 17 points. That's interesting. Again, what you're implied for doesn't necessarily mean their pricing with their offense, how much their target share. There's no Tajee Spears. It's all Pollard work. Not much competition for Ridley. I will say that Nick Westbrook-Akine, Randy Moss Jr., though, keeps getting the job done. I will keep not playing him. But, yeah, you never know. I don't know. I guess I'll let you guys answer that. I don't know. I'm debating a max 1 Ridley Pollard. I don't think I'm going to do it because if I do go that, they both can get there because they're both fair price tags. Ridley can go 9 for 90 or whatever. Pollard can score. So I probably won't make that rule, but I don't know how many, they're both getting ownership. Playing 2 Titans chalk in one lineup, I wanted to tell a story, and I would almost for sure have a run back on the other side. Good thing is, 2 of my favorite plays on the slate is Joe Mixon and Nico Collins. I don't love playing them together, but it feels really tough to see one of them not getting there. I guess you could throw Tank Dell in there too at lower ownership. But, man, Texans are going to put up points. The Titans are more of a rushing or run funnel, but they're pretty good on both, actually. They're good against the run, solid against the pass if you're looking on the stone, and their pace is bad. But the thing is, Texans are now healthy. Nico Collins, obviously last week, so tilting. First play of the game. I never will understand linemen running downfield unless it's an RPO. He did only play 47% of snaps. I'm expecting that to be normal this week. Another week. I thought last week was going to be closer to normal because they held him out the week prior. I'm in on Big Nico. He's 500 less than Jefferson. That's also why, I knew I couldn't jam Jefferson. I'm going to be splitting that more, and I do prefer the savings with Nico. And then Mixon, overspending at running back in quotes, but the Chains the world. I think McCaffrey's maybe even a little higher owned, would have definitely been higher owned if Purdy was there. But you're spending way higher than most are at running back, so you get a little different build. And yeah, I mean, everyone knows how good Mixon's been this year. So really, really individual strong plays. I don't think I'm going Stroud. I'm not going Will Levis, but I'm going to have a lot of Nico. I like Mixon, Pollard, Ridley, and you can, of course, throw Tank down there too.
Yeah, I like the breakdown. The Nico thing, like you say, even on 47% of the snaps, it was the 26-yard catch too. He sort of muffed it into the ground and didn't quite get it where he could have had that. So there was that, the 77-yard touchdown, all of that. And then I think like Nick says here, this is kind of like the same thing Hoop said earlier. Like if you've been playing Westbrook Akina, I think you just you got free money you're playing with. Don't go off now. But if you haven't been playing him, really tough to jump onto somebody like him and hope that it starts working in your favor after that. I like the Pollard call. I don't know, like if I would get both of them anyway, but if I'm with you. I don't think I would set the rule title. Just the Pollard one. I wonder if he can actually get that ownership when we see all these other running backs shake out. I think it's about right what we have probably, right? We got him around 12%. I could see 12 to 15. I could see lower too. I could see where people just say, you know what, I'm not going to go to that, especially when hand building. So 5,800 could end up being a decent price there. I don't mind the Stroud stuff. It's just, it gets expensive. It's another, the good news, like you said, inside, fast track, Nico, Tank, Schultz, guys like that, Mechie. But again, it gets tricky. It's almost like a Mahomes spot or a Jordan Love spot where you're trying to figure out where to go. Hoop, what do you got with this one? Titans, Texans.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with a lot of what Title had to say. The issue I have with the Titan stuff is basically what he laid out. I mean, they're projected to score 2 touchdowns, and you're looking at 2 guys that are getting pretty substantial ownership, like Tony Pollard, because of the price tag at 58, expected to get all the work. Like, I don't know if I can get there. Like, with all these running back plays, to me, he's got to outscore some big dogs on the slate in really good spots. And, like, do I want Pollard as, like, a 9-point underdog over those other guys and getting ownership too? Like, I might just not play Pollard on FanDuel. I like him a little bit more just because that savings goes a long way. But on DK at 5,800, like, he's got to be up there with Kareem Hunt, Brian Robinson Jr., James Conner, relatively close to even guys like Kenneth Walker. Like, to me, I'm fine. Like, if Pollard beats me as a 9-point underdog, I think I'm good with that. Ridley, some of him, it'd probably be underweight approach on Ridley. Stronger play on FanDuel, I'd say, because of the pricing. So, like, I'm not thrilled with these Texans guys because they're going to get ownership. They're in a pretty bad spot as far as I'm concerned. Like, Texans defense is solid. And it's not like it's like super, super cheap price tag. So not thrilled with that side. On the Texans side, much more excited. I think Mixon is a phenomenal play and love that he's priced up a little bit on FanDuel. He's in the 9K range, DK at 8K. A lot of people are going to want to settle in the upper 5s or 6Ks. I think he could get squeezed a little bit, and I love that because he's looked really, really good this season. So a lot of Mixon. If he's not going to do it, I do have some interest though in the CJ Stroud stuff because he's got Nico Collins back. Yes, it's expensive, but you can make it work this week. Got Tank Dell, really, really low owned. And then you guys know I love playing my boy, tight end, $3,500, Mr. Dalton Schultz.
Makes it all work.
Makes it all work, baby. That's how you make the Stroud stuff work. You get that 3,500 tight end in there and you're good to go. You can play whatever the hell you want with it. So all jokes aside, I am interested in the Stroud stuff just because outside of Nico Collins, it's relatively inexpensive. Like Stroud at 65, like that's probably where he should be. On FanDuel, he's like 76, mid-7. So, and it's not going to take a lot of exposure to get overweight on it. So in on the full Texan stuff, and then potentially fading or way underweight on like Pollard and Calvin Ridley. I don't think I can get to Pollard at 5,800 on DK, so I'll say that.
Yeah, a couple of saving spots, like you said, on FanDuel. It's way better for Pollard over there just because the value that you get out of it. And then Nico Collins goes up to almost 9K on FanDuel versus 7,600. You know, the Schultz stuff, as jokes aside, like you said, but it does cut into the ownership and the savings that you get when you are stacking that side. So if you want to get to Stroud Collins, great. But the best way to cut into it is, one, Stroud's not even getting a lot of ownership at all. And then Schultz is getting almost none as well. So when you plug that in around Collins, kind of shakes it up, and you could run Ridley or Pollard, but I like Ridley on the other side in that scenario, and they got to pass it. The pace is bad for the Titans, but the way it picks up quick is if these Texans or the Titans get scoring early, and then we see it break out from there. So that could be a thing. But the next game, a lot more exciting. Just to note, 230 likes right now, 243 actually, it just updated. And we're on to the Lions-Colts game. You know, someone said it here earlier, though. This is shout out to our guy, DGen. 600 watching. I'm now over 700 watching. Only 240 likes. A lot of donkey punches to give out. So, yeah, hit that like. Helps us out a ton, and we appreciate it. But, Hoop, I'm going to stay with you because it's your Lions. And there was a couple of comments in the chat outside of the ones making fun of the moments from this season saying, you know, these Lions, people just can't get them right? You go on them. It's a running game, and it spreads out. You don't need everything. You go off of them, and then you need everyone, and Dan Campbell stomps on it like you said earlier. So what are we doing here this week with Lions at the Colts? Looks like a good one. Yeah,
last week was, I played them a little bit, but not enough. And I guess, my approach moving forward, I'm going to obviously, like I said, I took the L a little bit on them wanting to win ugly games. Maybe it's Ben Johnson wanting to, put up these big points to put himself even more on the radar for the head coaching stuff. But I don't know, they're projected to score 30. When a team's projected to score 30 actual points, it's probably foolish to not take an overweight stance on them. And it's similar to last week where nobody's really getting much ownership on this team. Amon-Ra St. Brown on DK will come in with a decent chunk, but everyone else is probably 10 or below. Gibbs is probably around 10. Montgomery is under that. Jamison Williams is under that. Laporta, 4,300, probably under that. And Goff is under that. So, I think you just play them, and it doesn't require a ton of ownership to have an overweight stance on them. They're projected to score 30 points in a dome. I've said all season, and I'll continue to take the same L that I keep just giving myself this L, but I was wrong. They are not they would win another game if they could, but they'll still push the pace if it's available for them, which we saw last week. We saw in Dallas. I thought it was just a one-off Dallas situation where they wanted to give Dallas the big fuck you. Clearly not the case because they gave it to the dead Jacksonville Jaguars last week. So 30 actual points, I think you just play them. The interesting side, though, is Anthony Richardson. He's going to be popular, big time upside regardless of game script. Can play him naked if you want, but he does have viable passing options. You can go to Pittman, you can go to Downs. If you do play him naked, I think this is a good way to get exposure to the Lions. Play him and then one or two Lions guys on the other side, right? I think that's the way to maybe optimally play Anthony Richardson today. So in these Richardson teams, pair him with Amon-Ra St. Brown and maybe Laporta. And if this game does shoot out, he finds it on the ground twice. Amon-Ra, Laporta have big games. There's a lot of ways this game could get there from a fantasy perspective. You can pair him with Pittman and Downs and then play Lions on the other side. So it's, to me, a very interesting, I'd say, dynamic game for DFS purposes. A lot of different ways to go. But I will be on the Lions stuff heavier this week. Made the mistake last week. It doesn't take much to get way overweight on this situation.
Yeah, I got to call one thing out before title pops up. Shout out to our guy Shaloub, always crushing it. Says, always Goff is a thing. And you'll be happy to know Shaloub's the birthday boy. He always loves talking about the birthdays. Tim Patrick, speaking of a memory from earlier this season, the radio special that Hoop brought to us from local radio in Michigan.
Patrick, baby.
It was his birthday yesterday. We seen the day before birthday narrative. Kittle had a huge game the day after. Lots of that. So maybe it is another Lions day.
Yeah, he was saying away Goff because he's typically the.
I didn't see that. I misread it. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, now it should be always Goff for you, Shaloub.
Now
because
it's always
the narrative in there. You got to switch it up, man. Sometimes you got to switch it up. But before I go to title, I will say I really like that call that you just had, Hoop, with Richardson. I do like the passing options, and I'm stacking them up some today. I like Downs, Pittman, Adonai Mitchell. I try and make these things work. That's fine. But the call out you had, so you go with like Amon-Ra, who does not need Goff. He's like the Jefferson we talked about earlier. He can catch you 9 balls, 105, and a touchdown. And Richardson could still smash Goff. And then Laporta, you got to fill up the onesie position anyway. So why not just do it that way and have Laporta do his job, Jameson Williams do his job, and then Richardson just has to beat Goff. But by the way, you also get $1,000 to spend elsewhere. That's a pretty good deal. So like that call out as well. Go ahead.
No, I was just pointing this out. I know you always you always interest in those phony Tonys out there.
Oh, a lot of phony Tonys in the industry, man, out in DFS, everything too. So I think in general, got to be on the defense here today too. Lions expensive, and we talked about the ones earlier, right? The Chiefs, the Minnesota Vikings, all those. I don't know. I feel like Lions are right there as well. And if you're not on Richardson, it's almost like the Chicago one, where if you're not on Minnesota and you just land on Chicago, they're $2,500. I'm fine with it. It's not like you're protecting anything. You're not on the Vikings. Maybe they show up at home. Who knows? Same thing goes here. If you just land on Detroit, you don't have Detroit pieces. Maybe hope they get a touchdown towards that 30-point total and $3,700. So I think that's interesting as well.
This game's tough, man. 4 Colts O-line banged up. Anzalone, we talked a little on the Friday show. Yeah. Detroit's defense is banged up a bit. The problem is with the Lions is it Montgomery? Is it Gibbs? Is it J-Mo? Is it Amon-Ra? Is it Laporta? Is it an O-lineman? If they all get one, is it enough at their price tags because they're getting up a little bit? Man, it's tough. It's really tough. I do like my favorite approach is Richardson with one of Downs, Pittman, and it's clearly Downs is my favorite. He's just really good at football. Pittman's been gross. It looks like Richardson's favorite target is Downs. So it's my favorite's going Richardson, Downs, and picking one on the other side. I think my favorite approach, if I went that way, would probably be Montgomery, and that's because if Lions absolutely go off, it's probably 2 of them coming with. How this game slows down a bit feels like it's Montgomery, or they do get ahead a little bit. But like Hoop said, we've seen it multiple times where we think that, and then Amon-Ra still has a touchdown when they're up 35 or whatever. Man, this makes it so tough. Like even going Goff and picking Laporta, Amon-Ra, and then it's Gibbs and Montgomery and stuff. So the ownership's low. You play a lot of teams. It's a lot easier to get there. Shout out D-Gen. Last week, I thought it was really sharp. If you're in the big guy chat, he talked about it. He played 60 teams. He only played 3 quarterbacks. He played like 3 tight ends. And the reason he did that, he talked about, he had Drake May. There was Bourne. There was Pop Douglas. There was Henry, Jameis, Judy, Njoku, Elijah, whatever. So many combos. Instead of making 1 or 2 teams with that, he made multiple. And then he got more with combinations. I think that's something you could do with the Lions. Do a 20 entry max. If you want a $20 with the Lions, instead of doing one $20 single entry, do $21 20 entry max. Jam the Lions and just get every different combination. So I think that's how I'd approach it, because it's really hard for me to get to a single entry hand building these Lions. I would prefer the chalkier A-rich side than try and get the run back there. Someone mentioned Jonathan Taylor. If you look at the stone, he looks good. You're talking leverage. You get leverage off of the Anthony Richardson stuff, who's going to be probably the highest owned quarterback. If Taylor gets there, that means Richardson's probably not getting the goal line rushing touchdowns. It's JT. So direct leverage there. And then you can go on the other side, whatever you want. So I'm going to play A-Rich. I'm going to play Downs. I'm going to one-off the Lions stuff. I don't know how much stacking I'm going to get to the Lions stuff. And it is interesting. 3 guys favored to score on the Lions. Gibbs, -175, I believe it was. Montgomery is here. Let me get it for sure. I know Amon-Ra was -135.
Yeah, while you find that, I'll add on to a point you brought up, because it's very important. Like if you are hand building, it is tough. I mean, you go in there and you're like, okay, who do I want? Gibbs or Montgomery? Amon-Ra St. Brown's expensive. Jameson Williams, tough to kind of squeeze in. So if you are hand building, it is difficult. And I'd definitely struggle if I was hand building teams to get exposure to Detroit. If you're an optimizer, much easier. If you're building 150 teams, much easier. I'm doing 150 today, so it's going to be much easier for me to get these teams. But for me, if I was hand building, my preferred route is definitely kind of opposite of what you said, because I'm getting both sides of the game. Play Anthony Richardson, hope he gets it on the ground twice, and you can get exposure to a Detroit guy. Pick one of the running backs, take Amon-Ra St. Brown, take Laporta. I think that's the way I would go about it if hand building.
Yeah.
Last thing, the touchdown props. Minus 190 Montgomery, minus 175 Gibbs, minus 135
That's nuts. Two of them right around minus 200. Two running backs from the same team right around minus 200 is insane.
Yeah, and it doesn't always go through that way, but obviously they have an idea, and when you're going to have a 30-point team total, that could definitely be a thing. We've seen that. I also might wonder, too, just flip-flopping on it, because obviously it helped me win some money last week, but remember on the Mayo show last week when he was talking about how they might just let Goff go off because of what had happened the game before with all the interceptions. Maybe Dan Campbell does switch it back this week and say, you know what? This matchup's easy. Let's get after them. We can crush them on the ground all game long and just hammer it out. So even like your Richardson call, something like a Montgomery or a Gibbs with Laporta, and even leaving the Amon-Ra out to give you more money up the middle. There's a ton of ways, like Title said, that you can go with this one, but it's one that I think you want a piece of it. Like the people talked in the chat about the Lions FOMO is real. It is, but it's because this team puts up this team total in the first half. Like that's what keeps happening. So you want to try and figure it out. It's worth spending the time on. And just one last point that you brought up, because that's the key to SHIPIT and having an optimizer under your belt, is even if you're only hand building and playing one lineup, that's the key. You can go into SHIPIT, put in Goff, lock him in with some pass catchers, whatever you want to see. If you're playing the Goff side where it's tough to hand build, see 20 lineups and then say, okay, if I'm picking one, I like this one. It has other pieces I like. Look off the stone, look off those things, make it make sense, and then use that, because it is extremely tricky, like you said, building a hand build with how expensive some of these Lions guys are and then making it feel comfortable elsewhere. So great call it on that. Anything else?
No, I mean, I think it's a very interesting game. I mean, I'm not in on the Jonathan Taylor stuff all that much, but I mean, you notice we went through, talked about this game and barely mentioned his name. So like that is the ultimate leverage in this game if you want exposure and you want something like completely off the board, because again, this is a play where I don't care what ownership sites are showing, including ours, because it's going to be lower. It's going to be lower than what anyone's showing. I can guarantee you that.
Feels so similar to the Bills Colts couple weeks back when James Cook and JT we talked about were like unknown, some leverage, and everyone else was going to others at running back. But running back's really strong today.
Yeah, that's the only hard part, right? Is if it going to be a Lions letdown? Because kind of think that's how you need at least something to work out where he gets there. And then could it be the old, like I would definitely wager, and what are the odds on that, Title? You might still have it up. Jonathan Taylor scores a touchdown today. They have a 25. Yeah, okay, so I think that's a good bet. I think he scores a touchdown. I don't know if he scores a couple of 1-yarders, and then is that still needed at 7,100 when we got some of these other guys that can beat him even in raw points for less money? But like you said, absolute leverage on the slate, tough matchup. But if they find a way to pull it off, they still have a decent team total at home, so it's definitely a possibility. Title, I'll go to you next one, man. Let's go. It's a division game. Patriots at the Dolphins. And I don't know, Achane, I guess, has been getting the steam all week. I'm seeing some late stuff with Tyreek steaming up a little bit. But what are we doing here with this Patriots-Dolphins game? What do you got on this one?
One of my favorite sneaky games on the slate, man. The Stone kind of has it pretty similar. I love the Dolphin stuff for a lot of the same reasons as last week. Obviously, Achane's getting a lot of ownership. If you're on the Stone, this Patriots defense is not good. Dolphins at home, and anytime it's Achane with Tua, all the pass catching upside. He got it on the ground last week as well. Just so many ways to rack up a lot of points really quickly. If you don't want to go Achane, how do you get leverage? Tua, Tyreek, and Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith is a complete beast. 80% of snaps last week, by far his highest. I'm going to keep rolling him at a pretty actually solid tight end position. We're going to talk on the other side quick. Hunter Henry's one of the more popular tight ends. Other side of that game, like Jonnu a lot. I like Tyreek a lot. I mean, he has all the upside in the world. And that price tag at $7,200, I love Jefferson. That's a big boy savings, $900. I like Nico too. Tyreek feels very, very strong at that price, though. I'll throw Tua in there. Again, this is slate. I don't love quarterbacks. If you can go, you can go Achane with Tua. You can also go Tua, Tyreek, Jonnu. You can even play all three if you really want. I don't think it's the craziest thing. Implied for almost 27 points. Pretty high in pace as well. So the Waddle stuff, if you're going Tua, you of course can. He's very, very low owned, but man, it has been tough for him. And I do think Jonno's emergence in the offense has hurt Waddle a bit too. Hoop and I talked about it a little Friday. So I love the Dolphin stuff. And if I like that, I want to like some of the other stuff. And I do. Your Ramondre call last week didn't necessarily work out, but the touches and the workload absolutely did at no ownership. He's had 24 touches, 21, 15, 23 the past 4 games. slight dog to score a touchdown this week, but he's in a running back. He's not expensive at 5'9", and who's around him? Pollard, who I think is higher owned. Kareem Hunt's a billion times higher owned. Brian Robinson's higher owned. James Conner for a little bit's higher owned. He has to get really, really squeezed in that range, can catch passes, get 80% of the snaps. I'm going to play some Ramondre Stevenson. I like this Pats offense with Drake May. They actually move the football. The problem is there's a plethora of receivers that they rotate in. They play Booty all the time. The dude is Booty, but he's always out there, so I'm going to play some. After that, though, Pop Douglas rotates, Polk rotates, all of that. That's why Hunter Henry's by far the best, because he doesn't rotate much, even though they do run 2 tight end sets. Austin Hooper's most definitely involved. I think I am going to play some Drake May at 5,500, though. If I think Dolphins score, I don't like many quarterbacks on this slate, and you have really cheap stacks that you can go with it. I'm going back to Booty because he was on the field almost 100% of snaps. I thought Bob Douglas was the most talented. And shout out to you last week on your insane Kendrick Bourne call. He's only 3,600 too. So, yeah, I mean, I've talked plenty, probably way more than people expected about Dolphins Patriots. It's one of my favorite games on the slate, and I'm going to be playing a lot of it.
I like these games, man. This is another one where, again, you expect it. Didn't the first matchup of this go a little bit crazy to it? Everyone was like, of course, Patriots, Dolphins, as we all expected. I can't remember. I thought it was earlier this season, and it actually had some scoring to it. But, yeah, if they want to keep the Dolphins off the field, they should keep jamming it with Ramondre 20 times and getting him 4 targets and all that. On FanDuel, 6,400, DraftKings, 59. He's at least somewhat interesting to me. I like the May stuff. Not as much as last week, maybe. But and the other thing is the Booty ownership, as you say, looks like it's going to be a little bit more than I expected. I thought people would move off it after it didn't work out last week, but I kind of had interest in going back to him when others aren't as high on him. And this game could end up having a bit of back and forth, and it can get sped up pretty quickly. It's Tua, Achane, Tyreek, Jonnu's helped. Other guys on the other side. You talked about it, Douglas, Henry. This one can pick up the pace. Quick question before I go to you, Hoop. Just this one here for title, and then I'll kick it to you, Hoop, to start it. If you had to pick, obviously you're allowed to play both, but if you were separating them and going with one, which one do you like better, title?
I like Achane because I do think he'll be less owned. And like the Chiefs can get there in a billion different ways. And eye test wise too. I mean, Achane's way better. Obviously the price tag, but I like Achane more, and I do expect Hunt to be the highest owned on the slate.
Hoop, you got a thought on this one before you take us into your thoughts on this game?
It'll be opposite for me. I would rather fade Achane because I'm playing the Dolphins passing game, and I know like him failing could create some leverage. So for me, it's going to be I'd rather fade Achane, and I'm not playing the Chiefs passing game. So that's my logic there. But if you're playing the ownership game, it's opposite, like you guys talked about. So
good segue. Indeed, to talk about your Dolphins here. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, back on him again. Was on him last week. I don't love quarterback, like Title kind of talked about. Tua's 5,800. You have, very direct guys to pair him with. Tyreek, Jonnu Smith. You can pair him with Achane. He catches a lot of passes. If you're fading Achane, it's a great team to get exposure to. And I'm in on the Waddle stuff. It hasn't been good. Don't get me wrong, but it is a bottom barrel price tag now. He's as cheap as he's ever been. Like, why can't it be Waddle? It hasn't been at all this season. Don't get me wrong. And we're at week 12. They did have injury stuff with the quarterback and whatnot, but I'm going to include him in my player pool. It doesn't take much. It's one of those plays. If you're hand building, you probably don't get there, but if you're playing a bunch of lineups, I want some of him. If you're playing a bunch of Tua, I think playing Waddle is something you should be looking to do. But a lot of clear ways to build with Tua. You compare him with the running back. You compare him with Hill, Waddle, Jonnu, multiple of those guys. It's not super expensive. It's the cheapest it's probably ever been to play Tua stacks with Tyreek being $7,200. So love that side. Patriot side, not as interested as you guys. I'm going to play some of these guys, but Hunter Henry just showing up as the most popular tight end scares me a little bit. Again, I'm going to play him on both sites, but it's a little worrisome. These wide receivers kind of going to mix them in. I'm going to have a decent bit of Booty, who's been absolute booty when he's on the field, but he's on the field a lot. He's been booty cheeks when he's on the field. It's like one of those NBA players that plays 35 minutes a game and does nothing, just doing wind sprints up and down the court. That's kind of where we're at with Booty Cheeks. But again, we don't have a ton of value, so we can't be picky. I'll be playing him. okay, great. I don't give a fuck how you pronounce this guy's name, to be honest with you. I've probably said it a million different ways.
Yeah, I've said it a chain a million times, and it is A-Chan, but I can't mentally get my brain to know
I don't
that.
care. Same as Brandon Ayuk, which I do have down now. I fucked that up for the last 2 years.
That's a good memory, actually. I know we're looking at some of the memories, but title real quick on pronunciations. The YouTube chat was going off for this past weekend's MMA card.
Oh, it was insane.
Oh, yeah. How'd you even, yeah.
Actually, well, that's a good memory, too, from the, golf, back in the day, we were doing those shows, the golf shows, and it was for, what was it, like Live?
Oh, I think it was a Live, yeah, we did the shows for the Live events right out of the gate. And
Tom Chang Tattoo Am I or something, and we were trying to look it up on YouTube where, the AI person comes on and says it with, the 7-syllable breakout. But, yeah, the MMA card title, there was a lot of comments on YouTube about that one. Pretty good.
Yeah, there's Bear just something. I just said Bear. Tumen something, Tom.
Because the Chinese flip it too, the last one goes first, right? So it's makes it even worse. Even if you know how to pronounce it, you don't know which one comes first.
Yeah, we got to move on from that week. That tournaments were not good last week, that's for sure.
Jonnu Revenge Game was another one that got brought up here. May has been playing really good. Shout out to Myron. I mean, this has actually been a thing. He's getting the points, and that's why I said if you think it works out, it's harder to figure out. And I should clarify to Hoop's point there too. While I do like May, I have Tua higher in the slate plan, and I have Tua in more places because it's what you said. I mean, if I'm not playing Mahomes and trying to make all that stuff work, even on a good week to do it, I'm playing Tua and Tyreek and trying to make that work instead. And you can mix in. I know our guy Scarface was interested in Waddle as well, especially on FanDuel, 5,900. It's also one of those plays where if he gets there, people are going to whine about it. And it's if everyone's playing A-Chan or if everyone who's not playing A-Chan is going to a Tyreek, how is Waddle not a good play? It doesn't mean it's going to work out. Good play going into the slate versus what the result is have nothing. They're not correlated. It's just we're saying how somebody could be in a good spot, like Bourne was last week. Boutte was value for no reason. It was just because there was no value on the slate. No one really liked the play. And when you saw Tyquan Thornton get let go and you saw KJ Osborne scratched, you knew Bourne was going to step up for right there for the same price at zero ownership versus the other guy with all the ownership. So got to think. Waddle could be in that type of spot this week as well. Anything else to add from either of you on this one?
Yeah, just the last piece for me would be, way more interested in the Patriots stuff over on FanDuel. The savings does a hell of a lot more where their pricing is tighter over there. Drake May's under 7K. He's kind of, much cheaper than on DK. He's priced right with some guys that I like a lot more. On FanDuel, he's under 7K, which provides nice value. Ramondre Stevenson in the 6K range. And then Hunter Henry at 52 is kind of even cheaper. And it's similar ownership between the two sites. So if you're playing both, for me personally, I probably don't get a bunch of it on in terms of the full stacks on DK, but on FanDuel, I'll probably have quite a bit.
Yeah, I like that breakout. I'll stick with you actually, Hoop. Here we go. The likes are 27 likes away, guys, from bringing it up. And we are starting what is there here? 1, 2, 3 afternoon games. We still got 2 left in the morning. So a lot of games left. Actually, we're only halfway. So that's awesome. Keep it rolling with the likes. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Almost to 9K, where we are giving away the $549 6-month all access with Shiptimizer membership to some lucky winner. So Hoop, I'll stay with you. It's the Buccaneers at the Giants. The 2 pieces of news overnight. One, Neighbors going to give it a go. So sounds good for him. And then there was original news out earlier yesterday on Evans that he's going to play, but they may try and limit him. And then overnight, Rappaport and some other guys came out with it and said no limitations, no restrictions. He's going to be good to go at just 7K. He's at a long rest off that hamstring injury, but it is tricky playing some of these guys off these hamstring injuries. What's your thoughts on this Bucs-Giants game?
No, they clearly don't give a shit about hamstring injuries because the guy could barely walk and they rolled his ass out there and got him injured within the first half. But I guess if you played him, good thing for you. You caught a touchdown right out of the gate. Yeah, exactly. So I guess with all that being said, I am going to play some Evans. I mean, they have no one else to really pass the ball to. Obviously, Cade Otton has been good, but Evans should be very low owned. I'm going to have some of him. I'll have some of Cade Otton as well on the Bucs side. This game I just don't love. On the Giants, these are these situations where these quarterbacks, if you're using an optimizer, these 4K quarterbacks are going to look very nice. They're going to show up. They're going to get, I don't know, what ownership are we showing? Do you still have that up?
I think it's going to be 5 or 6% on Tommy DeVito there.
Yeah, I thought maybe a little higher, but whatever. I'm just not doing it. I'm not going to play Neighbors. I'm not going to play really anything. Tyrone Tracy on FanDuel is in that 6K range. I think he's playable there, but I don't know. This is a quick game for me. Mostly a little Evans, a little Otten, and that's probably it.
Real quick, Hoop, just on the other side, do you have an opinion on the Bucky Irving versus Rashad White? Like they're both $100. They're $100 apart, exact same way on both sites. It's $100 more for White on DraftKings. It's $100 more for White on FanDuel. Any thoughts between those two?
Just tough because there's just so many good running backs today. Like just so many good running back plays. I am personally not getting there. If I was choosing one though, it would be, I don't know, put the names in a hat and pull one out and play that dude. I don't know. It's like I have nothing. I don't even want to put something out there because I honestly have no idea. Yeah,
go collect with the double comments here. The setup for Evans, and then also mentions the Sterling Shepard. Who else here? Shout out to our guy Jake. He says this. I got a thought on this in a second. We'll go there. Tracy on FanDuel, who you talked about, maybe a little better. New location, by the way. I haven't heard of somebody watching us in their hunting blind. That's interesting. Shout out to Adam. Got to give credit to that. That's a nice little setup there. And then hopefully you
got the AirPods in or the headphones so you don't scare the deer away, right?
That's right. I'm hoping so. The other thing too, Big Driggs, one of mine right here, Hoop. The Hoop space, and he found out the ownership. Remember golf? What was that? Austin Eckroat or something? And you said
that was Austin Eckroat. Well, that started the Shoey thing that I still haven't done. That was it. That was the Shoey bet, which is now that I think back, kind of bullshit because I swear like that increased his ownership. It had to have. It had to have increased.
It was like it was a different time of the season, but that was hilarious. The face, the reaction in the chair of just going back. That was another good one.
That was a good one. That's one of the winners because that was a classic right there. And I have to pay this up. Like I know I've been dragging my feet on this. What is it? Thanksgiving weekend, right? I'm gonna have I'm doing it this Thanksgiving show before the Lions game.
Or that, yeah.
Maybe I'll go. I'm gonna do it. Okay, maybe it's Thanksgiving then. I'll go in the driveway and take one down like as we go live. I'm not fully committing to that. Wait, we're doing it on Wednesday.
We're doing Wednesday,
yeah.
No, right, I'll think about recording on the day of before the Lions game. Have somebody record you. We'll throw it in the Discord over at SHIPIT Nation, and then if you're comfortable and good with it, we put it out to the public for everybody to see, just showing that you paid up. Someone said earlier, and this is true, great on paying bets. I'm not sure if they know you personally. Great on paying bets. Bad on paying up for punishment.
That is a guarantee. That's a very true statement. If I lose a bet to you, you're getting paid ASAP. I know I've bet with Title before. He knows you get paid right away. In terms of
grab a drink now. Go grab a drink, grab a shoe, and let's get it out right now, Hoop.
Ram a Celsius down and just burn your whole esophagus up too, right quick. Give that one a shot. But I think there was some interesting takes here in the chat just for this one. But the DeVito thing, I'm going to kick it to you, Title, and you can talk about both these sides, but I guess that would be someone interesting. The one thing I like with DeVito today is Theo Johnson. It's $6,900 to play.
You're finally on my boy, week 12. I gotten so much shit for playing Theo Johnson, and I am playing him this week. I didn't mention I have a little bit of him. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, why not though? $6,900 for a quarterback. Last I checked, you have to play a quarterback on DraftKings and a tight end. Same thing. Last I checked, you have to play one. That fills it out. You could play Evans to make it run back the other side as a way to make this thing explosive both ways. DeVito had some 20-point games. You just never know what the slate's going to require, right? There's 10 games. It's tricky. You have to wait and see, but you can build a dream team with DeVito, Theo Johnson. You don't have to play Evans. I just threw him out there as an example, but if you want to, that could sort of start it off, and then you could fit whatever you want. If they do anything, if they connect for a touchdown, man, it could be all over. So, Title, your thoughts on this game? Maybe I'm getting a little too hyped for something that's probably not going to happen, but 18-point team total at home.
Yeah, my puke stack is Drake May, so I can't have more than one puke stack. I'm not going to these Giants. Neighbors as a one-off would be if anything, and that would just be DeVito trying to look at his number one option and pepper him, which I think could be in the cards a fair tag. Other side for the Bucks, I don't love it much either. One-off Mike Evans, I'm good with that. A lot of narrative people talking about he's chasing the 1K, going to come back with vengeance. Yeah, sure, he's just a good receiver with really no other competition. As far as the Rashad White, Bucky Irving, I'm definitely Bucky Irving, and that's kind of just tailing the props, but also looking at them being 5-point favorites. And it feels like they're a lot more willing to use Bucky when they're ahead, and then Rachaad White more in the passing when they're trailing. Again, they both will most definitely get in. Rushing prop, though, Irving's almost 20 yards higher. Touchdown prop a little better. He's plus 100. Now, do we need him? Definitely don't need him, but he's 5,300, and no one's really going to go, I don't think, that low at running back. And if they do, because Kareem Hunt and Brian Robinson are a little more, if they do go down there, I think it's going to be Abdul at 4-3. So I don't think anyone's going to go in that 5K range. 5-point favorites, 23 implied total, good offense. And you look at the stone right here, perfect time to pull it up. A, pass defense for the Giants, D, rush defense. I'm going to play some Bucky Irving today. Bucky, Mike Evans, Neighbors, one-offs, nothing else in this one. And I do want to ask, someone came up. Dude said he was in the UP in Michigan. I want to see where in the UP. I've been up there a couple times, Houghton, Hancock area. So whoever wanted to let me know where in the UP they are.
I met your cousin at the wedding that lives up there.
Yeah, Josh and Ty. Yep.
Yeah. Good dude.
So I want to know where in the UP you're at, Noah, and then hop in the sauna and get ready for the pre-sweat to the actual sweat.
Don't stay as long as the dude that passed out at my
yeah, don't do that.
Staying there for 20 minutes at 195.
Jordan,
I pulled this up. I said, this is what makes you do even more crazy shit is when you're married and a dad. It's opposite.
They said, don't do it. We need your voice. Just a shotgun of beer makes it a whole lot easier. That's pretty standard stuff.
The funny thing is, like, our little family joke type thing is, this is a quick story and people will like this one, so it'll go fast. But I don't know when this was bought. I think it was my wife bought it maybe for her sister's bachelorette party, but it was a beer bong with a huge fucking penis on the end. Have you seen that? Just the big dong. So the big,
like a huge funnel that leads.
No, no. So it was a beer bong. Yeah, it was a beer bong, but just a massive.
He gives his hands there too.
No, I'm not even joking. Like, this thing was probably like 12 inches, and it's like double. You need two hands to get your double hand to get your hand.
It's a beer dong.
Beer dong, yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I think it's called. It's called a beer dong or whatever.
Fine, you can go grab that instead of the shoey.
So is that acceptable over the shoey?
Yeah, you can do that. That's a lock. Yeah, lock it in. You're good.
So the dong bong is approved over the shoey.
The dong bong. If you want to do that and forever be on blast, by all means, people have.
Hey, don't say that. Let them go. Lock it in.
That would be difficult to get on the social media. Can you imagine, like, down the road and the kids circling back and seeing something like that? That would have to be like a Discord only type payment. But yeah, I do have access. I do have access to the dong bong if we want to go that route.
Nick said a good one too. This is the way people get out of these punishments. I don't know if Hoop you ever roll this way, but you pay your way out. And as mad as the people are, like, yeah, but it's not fair. You didn't do the punishment. They're like, but wait, you want to pay for my thing? All right, fine. I'm good with that. And they just move on. But he said he just gets out of it that way.
Yeah, I don't mind that route. I mean, so like pay money, dong bong, shoey. I mean, shoey would be the last option for me. I'd rather pay or do the dong bong, to be honest.
There it is.
Wow. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I responded to him. Awesome. Love that.
Yeah, this is media, man. The screen, you don't want to do that. I won't let my boy step up and do that one. Discord, that'll be grabbed up. I thought about it at first, just throw him under, but no, just do a damn shoey and move on. So the dong bong, the chat loves it. The dong bong, man. That's on that.
Either way, whether or not I do it or not, I got to dig this. I don't know if it's here at my sister-in-law's house. I got to find that thing. You guys will get it. I mean, it is like a massive penis too. It's not just like a little. I mean, it is like probably 12 inches, and you got to have two hands around this.
Buddy said, didn't Cisco make a song about that? The thong song with the dong bong. This guy over here getting it done. We ain't doing that one. No, not Ship It Nation, not Hoopster. We can't do that. So, all right, let's look at these afternoon games. What do we got here? We got one more morning game and then 3 afternoon games. So making good time. But we got Cowboys at the Commanders, and Hoop, I'll stay with you. Jaden Daniels, Brian Robinson Jr. obviously picking up some steam. Some guys there in McLaurin, Noah Brown, Zach Ertz, who kind of reminds me of the Hunter Henry. He never gets it done, but we always still try and make him work because of the price point. And then we got Schoonmaker, Lamb, Dowdle, some other guys on the other side. What's your thoughts on this game?
These comments are too good. Washington's obviously in a good spot, projected to score 28 points, so like 4 full touchdowns. There's not many spend up quarterbacks today. Jaden Daniels kind of in a league of his own, but he's kind of difficult, just like Anthony Richardson. Like, how do you want to play him? Do you want to pair him with a wide receiver? Do you want to pair him with Ertz? It's tough to stack him, but, I'm going to have some stacks, him to McLaurin, him to Noah Brown, and I'm fine playing him naked or with like a Dallas guy like we talked about with the Anthony Richards stuff. But I really like Brian Robinson Jr., the price tag $5,600. Like, we've multiple touchdown upside. If it's not Jaden Daniels, it could easily be him. The price is very nice. So in on Brian Robinson, in on the Washington stacks, McLaurin unowned. Noah Brown will get some ownership because we don't have a ton of value at 42. Zach Ertz, moderate ownership. In on that side. On the Dallas side, Rico on FanDuel, he's in that 6K range, pretty cheap. CD Lamb, fine with a little bit of him. I mean, obviously it's got to be volume based, a little bit different situation with Cooper Rush in there over Dak, and then Schoonmaker 2,500. I mean, they use, and I will say, like, this could be stupid, but I'm keeping the Span Ford guy in there as well. Like, he was on the field a freaking ton, so he'll be in my player pool as well. But Schoonmaker at 2,500 just makes a lot of things work on the slate. Schoonmaker got 10 freaking targets. Now, is he going to get 10 today? Probably not, but at 2,500, he doesn't need 10, and they're likely playing from behind. Span Ford was out there a bunch. He got 5 targets as well. So playing both these guys, obviously more Schoonmaker over Span Ford, but overall, I think it's a pretty good game. I mean, we have a lot of plays, a lot of different ways to go. So yeah, kind of where I'm at.
This chat is still throwing me off.
Yeah,
like,
man.
Techie comes right away. Favorite memory from this year. Literally. Like, that is amazing to say that. And then somebody else said, please don't do this. Somebody said they're going to swap the rocket ship logo for the dong ball.
No.
Yeah, with the Sin logo with that. We can't be doing that either. So we gave the chat the ideas. Title, I'll kick it to you on this one. The chat's mentioning this. I don't think it's the same to me as, like, I guess we can talk about it, but when we had Judy over Tillman, it was a 0.5 projection. It was almost the same, yet the ownership was huge disparity. We've had similar situations like this. We're seeing, 14-9 here on Robinson Jr. And obviously, if they're up huge with this type of lead, you just expect them not to need Eckler. But is there any scenario here where you can see a flip-flop because it is 10-1 on ownership? And I don't fully disagree with, like, I think that could be the case here today that you're seeing 20-2%.
You can do it. It's not for me. I wish it was in the afternoon slate, and then you could do it in a 3-game afternoon. My favorite approach, if you want to leverage Brian Robinson, is going Jaden Daniels in the passing game. I'm not convinced he's going to be 13%. I think a lot of people want to save Ish at quarterback, so I could see that like 7-8. But look at all the pass catchers, under 10%. Daniels is plus 135 to score, and his rushing prop is 37.5 yards with juice on the over. How does Brian Robinson not get there? Or Austin Eckler not get there? Jaden Daniels can do it, and he has clear guys to pair. Terry McLaurin, Noah Brown, Zach Ertz. I'm good going Daniels, Noah Brown, Ertz. Daniels, just Noah Brown, whatever it is. Obviously, Terry's the most expensive, but Daniels expensive, Noah Brown, Ertz cheap. That doesn't break your bank with the stack. You can run it back with CD Lamb. My favorite run back is definitely just him or Schoonmaker. The Rico call on FanDuel was a good one. On DraftKings, it's similar to Bucky Irving, who we just talked about, right in that Kareem Hunt range as leverage. I prefer Bucky because of the game script. I don't love playing a running back as 10.5-point dogs, but again, better on FanDuel. CD Lamb still got peppered last week. If they're trailing by 10 all game or the spread's like that, should get it again. Schoonmaker, when Ferg went down, 10 targets, was a beast. I like individual pieces there. I like Brian Robinson stuff on Commanders, but how I would leverage it instead of Eckler is Daniels' passing game, and I'll be looking at him with McLaurin, Noah Brown, Ertz. Max 2, I'd be fine with just 1-2 because of his rushing upside.
Yeah, I like a lot of the ways you broke that one down. I'll go to Hoop just in a second, but just this one, Schoonmaker, our guy Shaloub. And I know the chat immediately says, especially members over at SHIPIT Nation that have the Stone full time, this is what Davis Allen looked like last week. Just heavily optimal at that price, not really getting the ownership you thought. Like, we knew he'd get some because he's obviously a punt play, but had the leverage. It just didn't work out. But there's ways you can make it work here. And even if Daniels gets steamed up higher than 13.5, McLaurin, Brown, Ertz, these guys just aren't coming with him. They're not. People are playing Robinson. I like this setup here more than trying to work out the Mahomes stuff I talked about earlier. I would just do what you just said, title, even if you want to go just Noah Brown, run it back with Schoonmaker. And then real quick, before I go to you, Hoop, this was another one. I don't have interest in Cooper Rush, but I do think the fact that they threw it as many times and I expect the same thing to be here does make a case for a guy like CeeDee Lamb, even by himself at $7,300, because that's, it just could be 10 catches for 101 yards and maybe he gets in the box and you score a touchdown. But that's how I'm thinking about it. What about you?
Same, yeah. I mean, not playing Cooper Rush, but the fact that he threw it 50 times is amazing. I mean, that's what you want, and that's why this game is very appealing, and that's why I'm going to be higher on these Dallas pieces, Dallas pass catchers than the field, because like they have nothing to play for, right? If they're playing from behind, they're just going to drop back and throw it, and that's good for not only the Dallas side, but also very good for the Washington side as well. So it just makes the overall game more appealing and it makes the pass catchers for Dallas more appealing.
Yeah, I like that call. Did you have a take on this one too? The chat was talking about the Robinson over on FanDuel. We've been talking about FanDuel all day. Talk about an increase, 5,600 on DraftKings. Obviously pretty optimal for that reason. Even with ownership, it's fine. But 7,900 on FanDuel. We talked like 3 or 4 guys in the 6K range that you could get it done.
Yeah, so like everybody, there's like 3 6K guys that look underpriced, but everybody else at the running back position is like priced up to a pretty substantial point. So I will force him in a little bit. If you run an optimizer, like you're not going to get any, I will force him in because I think he's going to be very low owned and has multiple touchdown upside. I mean, they could score. I mean, Dallas defense is terrible. Like they could score as many points as they wanted today. So I will force him in at the 79 because he's going to be very low owned over there.
I should know, too, the reason his name is Cooper Rush is because he can't pass. He might throw 50 of them, but it's been bad if you watched it. Like, it's not great throwing from him, so just keep that in mind as well. The chat trying to make him work. I'd be looking for secondary stacks, and I do want to call out one. I don't try and run back any hot takes or good calls last week with Bourne, but I will play a little Turpin this week. I like him at 3,300. If you're not on Lamb and you're not on Schoonmaker and you want to get a value play in there, he doesn't need to do much at 3,300. I have some interest in like him with Brian Robinson as a way to cut completely into his ownership. So he's one. I got another one in this next game. Title. Anything else you want to talk about there? If not, you can take us into this Broncos Raiders game to start off the afternoon trio.
Yeah, nothing else in that game. This game is pretty interesting in the fact of it has 2 of the more popular receivers on the slate, and Courtland Sutton, as we were showing, 23%, Jacoby Myers 20%, and you look at the names like, wow, Jacoby, Courtland Sutton is the 2 highest. Obviously, that has a lot to do with their prices. They're both wide receiver 1s. Bo Nix has absolutely been balling. Sutton's been good. Myers, a little disappointing. I'm going to play both of them, but like, how excited am I? I don't know. I think there are clear pivots on both sides. Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers. I mean, the dude's one of the best tight ends, if not the best tight end in football already, and Gardner Minshew loves him. I'm going to keep playing Brock Bowers, just watching the game last week. If you watch almost all year, just peppered, good after the catch. Love me some Brock Bowers. Amir Abdullah, not often you get a $4,300 starting running back. The props are fine. He's plus 135 to score, rushing, receiving prop 56.5. The problem is you have to get running back right. Like 11 from Abdullah today, I don't think will be enough. Yeah, I don't love Abdullah much. The more I think about it, there's too many great names that I think are going to score 25 plus. Abdullah has to do his job. This Raiders offense is bad, probably trailing. He's fine on FanDuel as well. But I don't think I'm going to get too much there. I want upside at running back. I'm not playing the Trey Tuckers, the Turners of the world, so I'm not playing Minshew. So it's just one-offs, Myers, Bowers, Abdullah. Bowers by far my favorite to go. Broncos side, I mean, man, Bo Nix, he's absolutely balling. There's no doubt about that. And ownership isn't really coming. I think the problem is, I talked about it last week. I forget who it was with, but of all the Bo Nix ownership, like 99% are going to go right to pair it with Courtland Sutton. Now, if he's only 5%, I don't really care about that too much. There is ways to get difference. Can you double stack it? This Devon Valet guy, he's pretty good. He had a solid game last week. I won't dare to mention the guy below Tambo for nightmares.
Fine, it happens, but that was funny you said that, because if it was 99% Sutton with him last week, somebody found the 1% to get me with Lil Jordan Humphrey. But I like the call in the middle there that you just talked about at 3,900. Keep rolling. But yeah, I think there's some interest there.
Yeah, he was the second in teams in snaps last week. He ran 68%. Lil Jordan Humphrey only 44. Troy Franklin 44. So after Sutton, it is those 3 relatively rotating in. So they're all viable. But Valet, looks like the guy that is Bo Nix's favorite and is out there the most. So, yeah, if I'm going Bo Nix, I do like that little double stack there, and I'm not messing with these tight ends really down there. Well, who scored? Like this Akins guy or Atkins or something, some fullback, third string tight end last week, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Nate Atkins. Like, no, I'm not messing the tight end room. It's mainly one-offs, but I think I'll do some Nix, Sutton, Valet stuff.
Yeah, last game too, this came up quite a bit. The Washington D, I know we're already past this game, but it literally came up a bunch. And then Keith Vape really wanted to hammer it home here. Highest scoring defense, unowned, book it says. So yeah, I got no problem with that too. If you go there, another way to get different, maybe with your Brian Robinson Jr. stuff, definitely like that. Agree with my guy Aaron Rasmus this week. He's back. You're definitely in the right chat, but if we get to 500 likes, maybe Ryan, we'll go through the Sunday night game, but we do have a whole show that covers the Sunday night game as well that comes out well before you see it happen. So you can go to that as well. But Hoop, anything else with this one? I guess the one thing I will say before you go into it is, do we believe this Jacoby? This is so when you won the Millie, it was with Josh Jacobs on the Raiders on a week when everyone said he was going to be this owned. They said, oh, it's going to be Josh Jacobs. You can't play him at that ownership. He's a horrible play. Came in at like 6% or 7%. You'll know the real number. And anyway, absolutely crushed for you to ship the Millie. I feel like, Jacoby Myers is getting talked up and mentioned, but I don't feel like people are actually clicking the button 21% of the time.
Yeah, I don't know if it gets to 21, but it will be something just because this is the range everyone's coming to. Like, it's like very clear that there's not a ton of value at this position, so people feel good clicking that. I don't necessarily think it'll get to 51 or 21, but it'll be something just because of the range is popular. I thought like Bo Nix would be way more popular after last week, and kind of surprised that the ownership isn't really following based on the position. There's not a ton of super appealing plays at the position. I thought for sure he would be a popular play this week. The fact that he's not has me pretty excited. So I'm going to be on Bo Nix. And yeah, I mean, it is tough because when you pair them, it's likely Sutton. Like their connection has been great. But like Title said, if Bo Nix is really coming in at just like 5% or potentially lower, like I don't care if everyone's pairing him with Sutton. It's still a relatively low-owned combination. Valley or V, what is it, Valley? I don't want to get.
I can't remember Vile or something. I think people say
Vile, I think, but I don't know.
The French accent to it or something.
People are out in the chat today too, so be careful. Make sure on your pronunciations.
Yeah, and on him too. I mean, playing a lot, getting targets, 39. We don't have a lot of cheap wide receivers, and then the guy below, like he has snuck into a couple lineups, and I don't know if I'm gonna. I think I might just roll with it. So that enough said there. On the Raiders side, yeah, it is rare to get a starting running back at 43. Again, agree with Title's point. He's got to do something though at 43. What's the lowest he could score and be on optimal? Like, I guess it depends. It's hard to pinpoint, but like if he somehow gets like 15, like I think that could be fine because you're going to have different sort of builds with him. You're going a whole tier below. I mean, like $1,500 cheaper than the next like popular type play. So I have him. But again, what are we showing for the ownership? Yeah, 6. So it's like low. It's not like, and it might creep up a little bit, to be honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised if his came up a little bit, but at 43, you're getting a different sort of build. So interested there. The Jacoby Myers stuff, it's like, am I excited to play Jacoby Myers? Like, no, not really. It's just like by necessity though this week because of the pricing and where he's at. So I'll have some of him. And then Mr. Bowers, I mean, dude's a stud. I mean, absolute stud. And then you get the bonus dance at the end. I like the dance at the end as well. So that's another reason to kind of play him. So in on the Bowers stuff. It is tougher to get to him though on FanDuel. I mean, he's priced up to 7,500, and you start building teams over there. It is not easy to pay that price tag, 7,500 for a tight end. So definitely going to make sure to get him in there though. I mean, the guy is super, super legit. They're at home. So I don't know. It's a good game. I guess the one thing that definitely stands out to me is Bo Nix, and I thought the ownership would be higher. The fact that it is not higher has me pretty excited to play him.
Yeah, somebody asked too, and I think it's fine. I mean, like Hoop just talked about pairing him up. Title did too, but he's one of those dudes. He runs getting 40 on the ground some games, things like that. He can rush touchdowns in. He can throw it to anybody. Who knows? Someone said Reynolds is back as well. Like this guy does toss it all around. So I would have no problem with that if you like the lineup and it works. Just know what you're getting into, and then you're making a decision of $400 more to get to a Jordan Love naked. If you're playing naked quarterbacks, it's only $700 more to get to Jaden Daniels. So I would make some decisions based around that with how you're looking at it. But I think that's pretty interesting. Trey Tucker, same initials as me. Not why I'm interested, but just another guy I'll mention at 4K, sort of squeezed in between. The reason I like him is because I'm with these guys really, and that I don't love Abdullah. I think I'm rather playing DeVito at quarterback to hope, if I'm really hoping for 15 points out of a 4K guy, I feel like that, or let me just leverage it in the exact same spot on the same team at wide receiver, take a shot on Trey Tucker, hopefully get some of those catches through the middle, and then maybe he gets one in the box or something at 4K. So Bowers, who you mentioned, all good. Broncos D, if you land in 3,200, is one of the mid-tier options that I liked, and then not too much else for me here in this game, so we can move on. All right, Title, I'll go to you on this one. The Packers at home, Jordan Love and co. Always tough to figure out. And then the 49ers with Brandon Allen. What are we doing in this one?
Niners side, I think just McCaffrey for me. I'd be fine with a little Juwan. Dude's just a monster, but when Brandon Allen's throwing you the football, it definitely takes a lot of appeal out. For the secondary stuff, I'm definitely good still playing McCaffrey, though. Backup quarterback, you'd think he'd even rely more on McCaffrey for dump-offs. Obviously, Shanahan going to want to get McCaffrey the ball. I think McCaffrey's a very strong play. If it was Purdy behind, I think McCaffrey would be like 26% owned on this slate as the chalk. Packers stuff, yeah, I mean, it's a close game. They're applied for 25 points. Weather's fine. I definitely like Jacobs. I like Jaden Reed. I like Romeo Dobbs. The Dobbs price tag too cheap. He leads the receivers in the snap count. Jaden Reed's their most explosive. I will say, though, Christian Watson is also coming into his own big play guy. I don't love Jordan Love on DraftKings. It's expensive and you have to get it right. I think he's a lot more interesting on FanDuel, where Josh Jacobs, actually we do have Jacobs the same 12 and 11. I think Jacobs will be a little higher on FanDuel, where Hoop said a lot of the running backs are priced up. Touchdowns mean a little more. He's popping a bit over there. I think you just get more leverage on FanDuel. And again, if our ownership stay true, that's not the case. I'm looking at stuff, though, I think it will be. And Love will be, he's really low on there. Jaden Reed's price tag is up there. Dobbs looks really cheap on FanDuel. And I think I even like Watson over Reed at that price tag on FanDuel too. Regardless, though, pick two of them. You can play them with Love. You get leverage off of the Jacobs stuff. But, I mean, in a vacuum, by far the best plays, Jacobs, McCaffrey, and I don't really think it's close. And they're both really, really strong plays with a lot of upside in this game, favored to score.
Yeah, I will say before I kick it to Hoop here, just a couple notes. One is the last game of the slate, when we get there, the Cardinals, Seahawks, going to be extremely popular. Though, just lots of plays that have picked up steam. And so late swap opportunity, you're getting the stone. We appreciate the likes. Thank you guys for the support. If you look at it, though, this is the only target game that we have on the slate. And what makes it pretty interesting is I can pull the trigger on my favorite thing to do. I can play Love, Reed, Dobbs, especially on FanDuel, and just run it back with Jennings. Jennings has basically been Ayuk with no Ayuk. So when he's been in there, I know the first big game that everyone was like, oh, you can't do that again. These guys don't need to do that again. When they have outlier games that big, they can have half of that or 3/4 the outcome of that and still be in pretty good shape and make good for you at 5,600 on DraftKings, 6,700 on FanDuel. I like it a little more on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, the benefit is you do get the Jaden Reed discount and everything else that comes with it for the setup on FanDuel. Like Hoop always talks about, 7,300 is actually not expensive for a quarterback, even though it seems expensive when you go over to DraftKings. Nobody more than 7K with Jaden Daniels today. So I'll kick it to you, Hoop, on this one. The Packers at home versus the 49ers. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, on the 49ers side, for me, it's just going to be McCaffrey. And I don't know, like I get the dump offs and all that. I'm not super excited to play him, to be honest with you. I'm just playing him more as, I guess, maybe like a blocker. I don't know, when you get a backup quarterback in, like a lot can go wrong and it can get ugly. So I am playing McCaffrey. I'll be honest, I'm not like super, super excited to play him. Agree with you guys, the talk on the Packers stuff. I have not played the Packers, I don't think, at all this season. For the most part, it's worked out. But Jordan Love, 7,300 on FanDuel with, I don't know, like 3 very solid wide receiver options. I'm very interested. A lot of different ways to go. And the ownership is remaining in check. Like Jordan Love, 6% on FanDuel, Jaden Reed, 6, Watson, 4, Dobbs, 4. Like very interested in the Packers stuff over on FanDuel. And then I think Josh Jacobs is a really good play as well on both sites. But like Title kind of laid out, the 76 on FanDuel, where a lot of these running backs are priced up, is a solid value, and 12%. I think that's a good number too. So I'll have a lot of Packers over on FanDuel, not really playing it on DK. McCaffrey for sure. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I just had to make sure on FanDuel. I just reserved an extra one for this Jordan Love lineup. I really got a feeling for that. One guy that was popping was Dobbs a little bit. I know Watson's there and a little bit more and all that, but I liked Reed already. And when Title sort of laid it out like that and reminded me, I was like, man, I kind of really like this setup, and then I'll see what I can fit in around it. So I think that's interesting. This is definitely the case. Like Hoop kind of said, it's almost like a blocker. You just throw it in there. You could see a spot where dump off City. The one note I know for sure, because I had him in one of my main lineups last week, McCaffrey, and just following it all afternoon, that had to be like the worst outcome and run out and day for him. And he still was getting all that work and target. Now, different quarterback, I get it. But man, that was a pretty bad one. And like Title said earlier, if we had Purdy back there, I think it's a whole different slate at hand. But main point was, I like this spot a little bit. Love this spot for late swap. So if you're on this next game, which makes sense to go to now, let's talk about a Title. Cardinals at the Seahawks, but that Packers 49ers game is a game. If you're dead from the morning, you could certainly move some of this stuff over. And I think both sides of this are getting a little steam. Be interesting to see after lock how the ownership shakes out, but the Geno and Kyler stuff, both pretty interesting in this game. A little bit of weather talk too, I think, Title.
Yeah, Roth has it as yellow. When I saw yellow, I didn't want to like change really anything. So weather's fine in my opinion. I wanted to say
it looks like some sort of rain throughout, but nothing heavy.
I mean, another day ending in Y in Washington. Hey, this time of year. But,
yes.
I mean, first of all, McCaffrey's prop, maybe to make you feel a little better, Hoop, 112.5 yard rushing and receiving prop, minus 120 on the over. I think McCaffrey's a real strong.
I mean, I'm definitely playing him. It's just, I don't know, there's concern with overall offensive efficiency with the backup in there. For sure.
Shanahan's scheme and him, he makes me feel a little better when they back us, but 100% they're it's definitely a bump down going Allen over Purdy. Last game of the slate, though, it's getting ownership as you showed. Both running backs getting some. I mean, we've talked about James Conner and Kenneth Walker all year. I think have been two of the better running back plays. James Conner is a workhorse, can catch some passes. Kenneth Walker is a workhorse on the ground, 3 touchdown upside always. Kyler Murray has rushing upside. Marvin Harrison's price tag maybe as cheap as we'll ever see at 6'1". Trey McBride also right in that Kelsey range. I think double tight end's pretty strong today. 3 running backs good, double tight end. Those are my preferred ways to use the flex, and that's because like Trey McBride's a little less than Sutton. He's arguably wide receiver 1 on this team. Brock Bowers, like we talked about, Kelsey. Just feels like a lot of these tight ends are underpriced. Give me all the Trey McBride, James Conner, Marvin Harrison would be 3. Now, in terms of Kyler Murray, I don't know. Some interest. I don't love it on the road, though. Tough place to play. Like you said, if there's a little weather concern, you look at the stone right here. Seahawks a little worse against the rush than the pass, so I do prefer Conner. But if I do go Kyler, I'm fine with just going him Harrison, him McBride. Him McBride would be my preferred. Excuse me. Not sure how much I love going Kyler, Harrison, and McBride. It's a little expensive, and you need a lot of good outcomes to come. I do like Seahawks side a lot. I think they put up points. It's either Kenneth Walker or it's Geno with DK, JSN, Lockett. Barner's a little interesting. His role's definitely grown. Fant will be back, though, so I don't think I really want it this week. JSN, DK, though, I think are 2 of the stronger plays on the slate. Right there, below 7K, they throw the ball, one of the most pass-happy teams. Not necessarily leverage off of Connor or Walker because they're getting some too, but all of them are very, very affordable. I think I'll have a Seahawk in a good amount of my lineups this week, whether it is Walker on the ground playing from ahead or DK JSN from behind.
Yeah, there used to be a thing, sleepless in Seattle. If we get scoreless in Seattle, I think we're in big trouble because it's the rain will be there and whatnot, but I think that's fine. And if it deters some ownership away, great. I guess the big thing here is the JSN versus Metcalf conversation always, because some people think it's expensive for JSN at 6,300. Others think it's a slam dunk. And I tend to agree with that side because he's been on fire. He's been used. It's not been Lockett. I know his price is up there now, but for what he's been getting and the target share and all that, and yes, DK was out for one of those, and just taking the last 2 games, sample size is nothing. I just don't think it's that unfair. I think it's pretty good right in the middle, and there's ways that you can play it still and get different. What's your take?
Good with either. Like, I like both a lot. I like DK. I like JSN. $300 separation. Like, I want a lot of both guys and a lot of this game. The running backs, are simple. I think, both under 7K, both solid plays. I want a lot of both. The Geno side is going to get some more ownership. Geno to DK, Geno to JSN. Those combinations will get a decent chunk of ownership. I like it. I want to do some of it. Tyler Lockett, I think is fine. I mean, the cheapest price tag, obviously it's just been DK and JSN, but bottom barrel price tag, game that I really like. I'll be in on some of him as well. And then I think Fant is technically still questionable. They said he's got to do stuff pregame, so it's somewhat of a complicated situation. I guess you don't, late swap potentially if you want to be on a Seattle tight end, but I don't think either are super strong options. But the Cardinal side to me stands out as even more appealing because I know this is a game I want to be on. I know most of the ownership is going to come on the Seattle side. I'm very interested in the Kyler Murray stuff. Kyler Murray to Trey McBride, I think of those top tight ends, Kelsey, Bowers, I think McBride comes in third to those guys, and he's been great. So I like that combination. And it's just a gut feeling. There's no reasoning behind this. I just think it's a Marvin Harrison Jr. kind of day. He's priced low on DK, 6,100. There's a lot of other guys around there. Ownership is low. It's a game I want to be on. It's the most upside with the lowest ownership in this game that you can potentially find. So again, more of a gut feeling type of thing, but I think it's going to be a Marvin Harrison Jr. sort of day. You can throw in some Michael Wilson as well, but overall it's a really, really appealing game. A lot of different ways to go. Yes, I'm going to be in on the Seattle stuff, but I think it's the Cardinal side that is the winner today.
Yeah, and just to note it, like some people don't follow this fully, and I'll just go through it on here quick, but like I love the Harrison Jr. call. He's in the same game, just under the JSN price tag. And again, it's a late swap thing. It's also how you're setting it up. But when you look here, yes, JSN shows more optimal. His projection, 13.7, ceiling, 21.7. Harrison Jr., what is he going to be? Probably 1/3 by the time JSN steams up, at least half the ownership, if not more. 12.2, not that far off. 19.3, not that far off. And then people wonder, well, then how does this work? Well, it's because look at Geno and look at all this comes together as one to make it more likely JSN's going to end up on there because obviously Geno's price tag is less than Kyler's and so on and so forth. The full stack versus that can be more optimal. So I got no problem with running the Geno Metcalf with using, instead of double stacking with JSN, just run it back with Harrison Jr. or like Hoop said, just flip the build. And one thing is whether Geno or Kyler Murray gets steamed up. If Geno gets steamed up, so do these guys with him. If Kyler gets steamed up, I actually don't think you see Harrison or Trey McBride go that much heavier than where they're currently at. They'll be in his lineups, but I don't think the overall stack will be nearly as popular as the Seahawks side. So, Title, anything else you want to add there, man?
No, it's a game I like for sure, but it's tough to get right. Like if it's Kenneth Walker getting all of it on the ground, it's not going to be Geno and those guys, and that's 30% ownership plus you're looking at. Connor's side, not as bad or not as polarized, I don't think, but I like the game. There's no doubt. What stands out of all this as we went through, initially from the top, said it was pretty hard to find stacks you love, and I still do think that's the case. And that Dolphins-Pats game is the sneaky game, and we had to target that in the stone. Don't scroll up and give the people freebies, but that's kind of what stands out too, but nothing more in that game, Dan.
Yeah, I like that final thought for me because any week we've spent a lot of time on a game like that, it's typically the week that ends up going. That's the game that ends up being the one. It's like, that's why we spent the time on it. It all makes sense now. So there was a few spots like that, but that was certainly one. How are you doing the giveaways, Hoop? Before I got one more question for you. What's the plan on the giveaways? You looking back and title picks?
The one dude that had the comment about what resulted in the shoey, the golf ownership, because that was pretty shocking.
Big Drake.
Yeah, we gotta find something early on. I'll go back and see if we can find something in there.
Okay, I guess then I'll stay with title. Usually Hoop does the FanDuel stuff, but I was going to give a little freebie, just a quick conversation, maybe title around that night game for Ryan S. He asked if we could cover it. We got to about 470, so we'll be there for the people today and talk about it. I won't pull it up on the stone, but just talk about Eagles at the Rams. Any just quick takeaways, kind of condensed, right, on both sides.
It is condensed on both sides. It's pretty expensive on both sides, like very expensive. Jalen Hurts is 9.3, the highest price quarterback. Saquon's all the way up to 10K. That'll keep their ownership relatively in check, but who won't be in check is A.J. Brown. We talked about 8,600, no Devontae Smith, and then Puka has been an absolute beast. I think he gets some ownership. Kyren maybe a little at 8.3. That's kind of like who I'm focused on, though. They're getting ownership, but I like Puka as a one-off. He's my favorite play on the slate. Favorite play in this game, 600 savings. Eye test-wise, he looks so back at home in a dome. He's a little lower owned than A.J. Brown, too, in that same price range. So just go to the other side. Kyren, yeah, I don't love it. I mean, he's a fine price tag at 8,300, but Hoop and I dove in a little bit on the Friday show. His touchdown has definitely came back. With Cooper Kupp, Puka fully healthy. There's just more competition there. Puka's my favorite play by far. I think A.J. Brown's fine. Saquon's so expensive, and Hurts is so expensive. I don't think I get there much.
Yeah, our boy Ham, I know he likes the Kyren Williams play just because it's really tough. We already talked about so many running back values. He just can't really get a lot of ownership in this spot. And I think most people would go to Nakua. If you can get the money to get up the Kupp, it's expensive, 9,200 over there. I will say that my favorite play in this game, or I guess way to handle it, not my favorite play, my favorite way to handle it is to add Jalen Hurts into the A.J. Brown stuff. I think a lot of the early the lineups that kick off early will definitely still have A.J. Brown. He's going to be popular for good reason. He's only 8,500. Look at some of those names in the spot he's in. But because Jaden Daniels is right there with the Jalen Hurts price tag, and because there's all those cheaper price tags and stacks that we talked about that make sense, I actually don't think Jalen Hurts will be nearly as much as he should be owned. And if we do have the eruption from A.J. Brown that actually is required, and it's a big 2-touchdown game or something with all the yardage, they have yardage bonus now, all of that and more, I think you're going to need Jalen Hurts, who has a big ceiling, and also Saquon Barkley, 10K. So let's just hope it is a Jalen Hurts rushes 2 in, throws 2 to A.J. Brown. You don't need to run it back and try and pick between these expensive options, but that's a good call out there. Hoop, what do you got?
Yeah, it's got to be. There's a lot of comments early about the MVS stuff, so it's got to be one of the MVS thing was funny. Us shitting on him, me absolutely going off, and then him just like jamming it in our face like right away on that slate. So there's a couple early on, just trying to find one that stood out. But
Sean Sullivan did say he's the person giving it away. So again, shout out to Sean. If you see one that's like somebody that's been here because they're on the grind, they're putting in the time. That's what he's all about, right? He put the work in. He made sure even through a downswing that he grinded through it, played his way, and then made it happen. So yeah, Nick puts the work in.
There you go. That's a good one. I agree. So this last, I didn't hear much of what you guys said about the Eagles and Rams game, but very appealing, obviously, from a fantasy perspective. The Jalen Hurts stuff is tough to get to. I think you had just mentioned that. I was not fully listening going through that. The dong ball that might hold the top spot if we do this again at the end of the year.
Giveaway, that's gonna hold.
Yeah, that's gonna be the top spot.
Show.
Yeah, but Hurts is tough to get to on FanDuel because of the price, and I think you just mentioned that. Again, I was on and on, I wasn't fully paying attention, but it is kind of tough to get there, so I want to force some of him in. What do you guys have to say about Cooper Kupp? Because 9,200 for Cooper Kupp, and it seems like it's Puka time now.
Yeah, that's what title said. Exactly that, basically. And it was the point was like Nakua makes the most sense. He's $100 more than A.J. Brown, probably at a little lower ownership. You obviously can put that whole stack together. I said Ham likes Kyren Williams for $300 less and at a different position just to hope for the best. Obviously, tough matchup, but he could get check downs. He could get a bunch of action. It's Kyren Williams if he sort of has a bounce back spot. And then I was saying the Jalen Hurts stuff only because anybody playing the FanDuel slate is going to be willing to have A.J. Brown. It's just how many people are going to leave in Jalen Hurts and wait around for the whole day to round their day out with that. But if he truly does have the game that's needed, a big-time eruption game, then it's probably going to be Hurts with Brown that you need. And that's big ceiling, especially if he has a couple tush pushes or something.
Yeah, no, it's strong points, but the prices are big on that game. I mean, big boy price tags. I don't mind Stafford either. I don't know if you guys had any take on that, but 7,200, like he has all his weapons. I mean, he looked good last week. I don't mind him either on FanDuel.
Pretty interesting way to do it, actually. I never thought of that one, but if you do want to run that, it's so expensive. What do him with? I guess you could get away with just him.
He's only 72, I think, on FanDuel, so it's like a cheap quarter.
He's going Kupp, Puka, and Stafford.
You nailed it. Your quarterback price is a great call. He's only 7,200 and has weapons and it's condensed. It's just once you almost have to, I think, stop it. Like pick Nakua or pick Kupp.
Oh, it's got to be one. Yeah, it can't be a double. I mean, if you double any two, it's over at that. I mean, you're done. You're playing all cheap dudes.
Which I think is a good point, because people automatically assume with a stand-up quarterback like Stafford, you have to double. But on this slate, let the slate tell you what's going on. There's lots of value plays that could still get there over trying to pick between Demarcus Robinson or somebody else with him, or trying to find another one-off random elsewhere just to force the double stack. So I don't mind going a different way to play A.J. Brown. Would be Stafford, Nakua, and Brown, and then fill it out with some of those 6K running backs that we talked about. There was like 4 or 5 of them. There's guys in the 7K range. Lots of different stuff that you can do there with that. So yeah, I think that was good. LSU Nick and Big Driggs were the winners. Reach out to info@shipitnation.com.
It was Morse, not LSU Nick. It was Morse and Big Driggs, wasn't it? Or LSU Nick?
Nick Mars is LSU Nick. Sorry.
Oh, that's him. That's LSU Nick. Well, I'm glad I said that. Now it all makes more sense. Shout out to
a little break though. I will say, all the bad beats and stuff. It's part of the game. Nobody cares. Work harder. He did have a college football stat corrected last night. Dropped him in half from 5K down to 2,500. That hurts. But and he also had the big showdown one that I'm not going to bring up. But it's pretty wild runouts. But Lions Dong Bong coming to a town near you. Shout out to Joanne.
If I ever do it, I'll have to paint the dong in Lions colors to really make it more memorable.
Ship Nation colors, man. That's the one. Ship Nation colors, the Lions, man. We got it set up. And Hoop, another good thing too, I just thought of, we're rounding out the show, but the Dodgers colors just won the World Series. Yeah. It could be a Dodgers and it could be a Lions. I got this one too, title. Check that puppy out.
Look, that's an old throwback.
That's a nice one. So I think it could be the year of the Lions. Maybe title is going to get owned, and me too, on this Ravens thing. But I saw today the Ravens might be interested in picking up Daniel Jones. Imagine Lamar goes down, Daniel Jones comes in, and it's Flacco 2.0, and we take it all the way to the top. That'd be something. Title, any final thoughts from you, man? Anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
No, I'm really happy that I said something. Morse is LSU Nick, and that's good to piece 2 and 2 together.
Named Morse 84.
That's what I thought. So now I'm so torn. I thought
they go by Morse 84 though. That was Nick Mars.
Nick Mars and then
Mars. I don't know exactly how you say it, but
all right. Yeah, shout out to him. College football. I saw multiple other screenshots. DGen had a good day in college football. College football teams keeps crushing for sure. But no, it feels very similar to last week's slate in the fact of running backs really strong. Value isn't great. I think 2 tight ends viable. Quarterbacks, it's not like 1 or 2 that are just like slam dunk. Like Richardson, I think is the most popular. Stacking him isn't necessarily the most fun. And good luck on what to do with the Lions stuff. Fun slate though.
It's going to be a good slate. I like this one. A lot of good contests out there. Just mentioning it, you said like NBA has been on fire. So many ways to get in. We brought it up off the top. But if you're just for football, even if you don't have college football in your state, you still get the rest of the season right through Super Bowl for just $99. Just go to shipitnation.com, click join the nation. If you want access to the optimizer, it's for NFL, classic, and showdown slates. Rest of the season, that's only $30 more. So $129. If you just want to check things out, you want the all access, the best deal is to use code NBA50. The code is NBA50, but you're using it for all access. $34.50 for your first month, less than $35 or less than $50, $49.50 if you want to check out all access with Shiptimizer. Hoop, final thoughts from you before we get out of here?
No, yeah, looking forward to the slate. I think very interesting. We'll see, but obviously, if you're not a member, get on over shipitnation.com. All our content is up, ready to go. Hop in the Discord, chat with us in the community before the slate locks, and looking forward to seeing those Ship It Nation logos at the top. Yeah, should be a good one. I blew his cover now, he said, but he also said, did I win or do we have a comment correction too? He's been having a rough go of those ones, but hopefully this win will make him feel a little bit better, start his day off right. We appreciate everybody here. As always, thank you for watching. Make sure to smash a like. If you're watching this on playback or you haven't done so yet, make sure to subscribe. Almost to 9,000 subscribers. That's going to do it for this one, guys. For Hoop, for Title, and for myself, ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it!